Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Serious Cinema for Unserious Men. I'm your host, Gabe Bradham, and with me today, he and I have been friends for 3 years. It's Tucker Sennett. Now, Tucker, it has kind of become a tradition that, around the time of the release of No Time to Die, which is the first movie that you and I ever podcasted about, we sit down and we do a Friendaversary podcast episode. And Tucker, I
True.
just want to say, your glow up over these last 3 years has just been incredible. I mean, when I met you, I wouldn't call you ugly, but I would say looks like has been hit with a shovel. And
Thanks.
now, and now you look like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. No, but in all seriousness, Tucker, congratulations on 3 years of friendship. I'm sorry for everything that I've definitely put you through. I'm glad we
So,
survived the Great Dune Part Two schism of 24. It was
yep.
looking rocky there for a while. But you have a special story you want to tell before we dive into the movie news. I will let you do that.
So I was on TikTok the other day. Um, and of course, guess who popped up celebrating his anniversary with Felicity?
Big Stan, Big
The
Tooch,
Tooch,
the
the
Toocher.
Tooch man. And of course, in typical Stan the Man fashion and Felicity fashion, which sort of perfectly encapsulates Gabe and my relationship as friends, as Gabe celebrates the friendiversary. He goes, "Oh, is it our anniversary?" And then proceeds to make her a delightful Italian meal to
Mm-hmm.
celebrate that anniversary. And he's like, "I've lost track. That's just the days just pass by too often now." So,
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Gabe, I don't I don't put a year on this podcast like you
Mm-hmm.
do. I just
Yeah.
the days pass by full of joy, like the Tooch man.
Yes. Okay, so Tucker, you know how there's always like on the first wedding you give paper and on the second you give tinfoil or whatever it is. Just did
Yes.
some quick Googling. The third wedding anniversary is traditionally celebrated with, and Tucker, don't make any jokes because all of my family can hear us, leather gifts. So for our third year friend anniversary, what will you be buying me this year? It
I will
must
be
be a
buying you.
leather gift.
I will be buying you the jacket
Uh-huh.
that um who's a good leather jacket? How about a Travolta Grease jacket? There you
Hey
go.
man,
We
I
share
I
some
appreciate that.
we
Thank
share
you.
some values with Travolta.
Yeah. He and I are both dedicated to finding the perfect scream in a movie that is a 5 out of 5 stars, not a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Tucker, what would I get you made of leather? Um, I feel like you're a confident man. You could rock leather pants.
Mm,
I wouldn't do any bedazzling, anything weird, and they might struggle to come off. But like Tucker, you go out to the club, right? You're in the leather pants, and everyone like they hear the sound of you like squeegeeing, and they're like, "Oh shit, Tucker's here." I think that works well for you, you know?
it's certainly a statement.
I think it's a statement that should be made. But Tucker, the way we celebrate these friend anniversaries is by recapping our favorite 10 movies from a certain year. And for the 3 year friend anniversary, it's 2022, which was the year we started the show. And one of the big things we did this show is because you and I would send each other movie news and would just have the most absurd takes. I distinctly remember many, many times they would send something about like the new Star Wars projects. We'd be like, Star Wars, Ray movie. And we both said at the same time, yeah, that's not coming out. That's not a movie that's happening. And so we decided, let's talk about the movie news on air. And in going with that tradition, Tucker, Big Clint, a man whom we love, Clint Eastwood, he is 94 years old and is releasing a movie to theaters called Juror Number Two. The trailer came out. It came out pretty quietly. I didn't see much buzz about it, but I was buzzing after watching it because that's pretty competently made. There might be someone else actually directing that movie, and Clint is just like in some room going, "Listen, Buster, roll the film better." That's my Clint impression. What were your thoughts after watching that trailer?
I think it looks. I think Clint's got one. I've said this before on the pod. I've said I think Clint has one more good film left in him,
Hmm.
and I think we're gonna get that. I think it looks entertaining. I think we know Clint can tell a good crime story.
Yes, he can. Mystic
So
River.
I'm excited to see what the old man has in store for us one last time.
Yeah. As long as it's better than Cry Macho, I'll be happy. Because Cry Macho was just kind of absurd, and I distinctly remember it was like the middle of COVID, and like life just kind of sucked. And then Clint Eastwood was like, "I made a secret new movie about cockfighting, and it's coming to Max." And we're all like, "Dude, you've won several Academy Awards, and that's the next movie? Okay, sure. But this looks really good. So jury number two stars Nicholas Holt as a man who is on a jury for a hit and run case, except it's revealed that he was the person who killed the individual, the victim in the hit and run case. So he is on the jury and he is trying to find a way to get the person off while also not revealing what he did. It's got a little bit of 12 Angry Men vibes, some crime vibes, and then you've got Tony Collette and J.K. Simmons, and it just looks fun. It looks interesting. I don't know how it'll be received by like I don't want to say movie elite because that sounds like conspiracy theory, but like Academy Awards people. I don't know how this will be received by them. A lot of Clint Eastwood things, they're just like, no, 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 not good enough. And then for $1 Million Baby, they were like, hell yeah, this rocks. Don't know. I'm excited though. We'll have to see. Tucker, the other thing is, some have said you and I are the goats of podcasting. Now, Bill Simmons, Ryan Russillo, there's some impressive people in the podcast pantheon. But some have said we're the goats. And the goat of acting is Daniel Day-Lewis. And Tucker, he's returning to do a film called Anemone.
Gabe, what do you think he's gonna say when he walks on set and let's say he wants like a cup of coffee right in that exact moment and he's
Um,
like, I want my coffee.
now, now, now.
There we go.
Yeah,
That's
no, absolutely. I rewatched Lincoln because we've been making that joke so much, and I'm just like, God, this movie is just incredible. Like I forget how good it is every time. Daniel Day-Lewis is just incredible at acting. There's an argument to be made that every time he's in a movie, you just give him the Oscar for Best Actor.
Yep.
Like Phantom Thread, we both love Gary Oldman. Daniel Day-Lewis, he should have just won. This
No,
one is
I would say that one was almost like a passing of the torch.
maybe, yeah, Geo. Gary Oldman is like he's diet Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes.
DDDL.
Yes.
And I had no issue with Darkest Hour. Gary Oldman cooked in it. Most people could not
I
have made
think
that movie interesting,
I
and I
think the
was like,
torch the torch gets passed from like British or Irish actor to British or Irish actor, every once in a while. And we're going like DDL to Geo to I'm gonna throw Colin Farrell in there.
oh yeah, he's beloved. He's
And
beloved for sure.
and then Colin's gonna pass it to Killian Murphy.
Yeah. Well, do we think Ray Fiennes ever in there for like a brief period in the '90s? Because we got to remember
Yeah.
DDL retired in '96, so maybe like 97 English Patient to like
Yeah. I
08, maybe I don't know.
I mean, my only problem with Ray Fiennes is he got overly committed to um he got overly committed to Harry Potter for a number of
Yeah,
years, I would
can't
say.
can't do
Whereas
that. That's
Geo
not good.
Geo dipped his toes in the Harry Potter water. That rhymed. That was nice.
Yeah.
But he didn't make it like his only
Only thing he was
project.
doing at the time.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
because like Ray Fiennes would do like 4 Harry Potter movies, then he'd do In Bruges, and then 3 more Harry Potter movies. And you were like, okay, just hold on, let's get this a little more balanced out. Um, Gary Oldman's work in The Dark Knight, particularly the "I'm sorry for everything." I was just like, Gary, I didn't need you to cook that hard. The Book of Eli, I'm riding for that movie, Tucker. Not many people ride for the Book of Eli. I will, and he in that movie is going
He's good,
ham.
good in that movie. It's not one of my favorites, but it's a solid outing for him.
So Tucker, here's my question for you.
Gabe, who
We
in that
talked.
movie, what character are you from Book of Eli?
Oh, I'm Denzel Washington, of course.
I
Blind, master of the scriptures, a ninja, essentially. You're Gary Oldman, anti-Bible, loud. You could also be Mila Kunis. You can choose between those three,
okay.
or between those two. But Tucker, we talked about when Robert Downey Jr. was announced to play Doctor Doom. We discussed how there was a small report that said the role was offered to Daniel Day-Lewis, and it was considered but ultimately rejected. And we're like, that didn't happen. They were just reporting so that people thought they did their due diligence. Tucker, they might have actually offered him that job. So I would just like you to tell me, what do you think Daniel Day-Lewis said when he received a parcel in whatever corner of Ireland he's in from Disney saying, we'd like you to play Victor Von Doom? What do you think his headspace was at? Maybe, oh
I
God,
think
I gotta come back.
no, I think that one was a to their face respectable no. Behind closed doors. Do you think I would stoop so low as to do this childish nonsense?
Yeah. They saw Denzel in Gladiator 2, and they were like, maybe we can get Daniel with $300
Yeah,
million dollars.
Gladiator 2 is a historical epic being directed by a guy who pretty much exclusively directs good historical epics, with a few minor exceptions. Um,
Well, no, he makes bad historical epics, then releases the 5 hour director's cut, and we're like, oh my God, this is a masterpiece.
fair,
Holy hell.
fair. I would say Gabe's favorite historical epic is actually a biblical epic that he released.
Yes. Yes, yes. I'm a big fan of Exodus Gods and Kings. I think that is I don't know what is going on with my hair right now. Let's fix that. That looks I had a bit of a
That-
quaff and that wasn't
yeah, yeah, that was a look for a second there.
yeah, not a good look. Not a good look. I looked like I belonged in Knives Out. But speaking of Knives Out, we got a Knives Out sequel in 2022. And as I mentioned, 22 was the year we started this show. Um, Not a great year to start a podcast. I don't know what we were thinking there. This wasn't a great year for movies. I would
Honestly,
say
in
this
hindsight,
was
it was fine. It was fine. I would say I would probably rank this year above I would rank this year above 20 and 21 for sure. And I
oh, you
think
think it's better than
also,
21?
yeah,
Oh, interesting. Okay, I would disagree, but that's just me.
okay. I just think this year was like the first year where everybody was kind of like, all right, we can go back to the movies. So
True.
I'm favorable towards it from that sense.
Yes. You went to see the Batman dying of emphysema, I think is what we ultimately determined it was.
No, I had at the time I had the COVID, which
Mm.
was I would am I a bad person for doing that? No, because there were only 11 people in the IMAX theater at 9:30 a.m. when I saw this movie. So
Yeah, that's an incredible decision on your part.
yeah, so what had happened was I I was supposed to go the night before, and with my two roommates at the time, and I was like, guys, I didn't leave my room the entire day. I was dead. I was dead. I was also hiding from the school that I was that ill because I didn't want to get put in the quarantine dorm. So I was hiding, and I was like, guys, I'm probably gonna faint if I have to walk to the theater that night. So I decided to stay home, and they got back, and my one roommate, friend of the show, Angelo, knocked on my door, and he's like, all right, I mean, I know you're sick, but like you got to go tomorrow.
That is the most Angelo thing I've ever heard in maybe my entire life. Angelo, friend of the show, very beloved. And you did see Batman,
I
and
did
it
go.
changed your life.
It sure did.
And I think we know where it'll be on this list, but who knows? Tucker, I think maybe the best way to do this is we will name one. You know, I can go first, you can go first, whatever. And then if another one of us has it, we will save it and talk about it whenever it's lower on the other person's list. So if you
Fair.
have Puss in Boots: The Last Wish at 10 and I have it at 8, we'll save it and talk about it at 8. That way we don't have to repeat the same conversation.
I have it at 9.
Oh, well, I have it somewhere else, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Ultimately, I agree with you. I think 2022 was the second worst year for movies we've had in the 2020s, barring 2020. I think there's some good stuff in 22, and 24 has been interesting. We need some things to go well. You know, Joker Folia Do, we were like, that's gonna turn it all around. Uh, um, Apparently not. Apparently it hasn't. Although a mutual and Letterboxd logged it and gave it a 2 out of 5, and they gave Megalopolis a 5 out of 5. So I don't know. Maybe this is a go see for yourself and make that determination type event, because Megalopolis is not a 5. Megaflopolis, I gave it a 4 out of 10, and I was like, that's still too high. I've got to go adjust that. That's not right. That movie needs to burn in hell. But Tucker, I can go first with my number 10. I don't think you'll have this one. I've got Jackass Forever. And what I did when I was making this list of my top 10, what movies have I actually watched in the last 2 years? You know, like I enjoyed. So here's one that's not on my list, and I know Tucker will speak about it. An extremely well artistically made, thematically rich, well acted movie, Banshees of Inisherin. It's an incredibly competent, beautiful movie. I just haven't watched it. Maybe that's because the subject material is so sad. Maybe it's because it's a longer movie, something like that. So it's not on this list. That doesn't make it any less good, but it's
It's
just
an
what.
hour and 49 minutes, just so you
No,
know.
I love it, but it feels on that 2.5 mark. You know what I'm saying? At least for me. That's not putting it down. Jackass Forever, I have rewatched several times since then. Jackass Forever is a Jackass movie, but it actually has some real heart and sweetness to it, because these people know this is the last one of these they're going to be able to make. There is a point of this movie where many people almost die, and they're like, "Hey, we should probably cut it up." Yes, Tucker, you just put your arms up in glory.
I'm not gonna tell you. I'm just gonna let you know that the rally is starting.
Oh, okay. The Milwaukee Brewers are playing an elimination game in baseball right now, and it's a rough time to be Big Fudge. There are some excellent, incredible stunts in Jackass Forever that I'm just like, there's no chance in hell they would get me to do this. Some of my personal favorites. Uh, Johnny Knoxville gets hit by a bull. A stampeding bull charges at him, broke several of his ribs, his wrist, I think a part of his neck. He had a concussion. His teeth were knocked out. There's a spider tube, like two people's heads are in helmets, and there's a bridge in between those tubes. It's airtight, and there's a spider in it, and they have to like try and not have the spider touch them. Terrifying. There's electrocuted floors. Machine Gun Kelly gets slapped extremely hard with a very large hand. I find that very funny. I bet Eminem was rewinding that clip over and over and just like laughing diabolically. Um, there's some crazy stuff in this movie. It's a gross movie, right? Jackass are gross out movies. You know, I lived with 7 guys in my freshman year. We all saw this together, and it was like living with the cast of Jackass. So I related to it. I will say this movie definitely isn't for everyone, but if you, like me, are a bad person and think someone being locked in a room with a bear being covered in honey and salmon is extremely funny, you will enjoy this movie. And you can watch it on Amazon Prime. I love it. Tucker, have you seen Jackass Forever?
I have. I haven't seen it probably since 2022, but it was, I felt like I was a kid again
Yeah.
briefly.
Would covering you in honey and salmon and then locking you in a room with the grizzly bear. Would that be a friendship ender?
Mm, no, if it's for the brand, I'm open to it, Gabe.
Okay, yeah, I mean, like you would know I would have your best interest in mind, and I would definitely film it. What would be a friendship ender for me is if you do that to me and you don't at least film it so we can use it as content. If you're gonna torture me, do it for the show. Tucker, what's
Yep.
your number 10?
My number 10 is a film that Gabe just brought up, Glass Onion, the follow-up to Knives Out. I was between this and Hustle were
Yeah,
my picks, and I opted for Glass Onion just because really just Daniel Craig is really entertaining in this movie.
yeah. I have this at 6, but we can just talk about it now.
Okay. I don't need to get into it too in depth, but it's just like it allowed a already incredibly fun character even more room to kind of grow and be explored with a not as not as effective story as the first one, I would say. But an equally entertaining one.
Yeah,
In many
and
ways.
a great, maybe a better cast surrounding him. There's an
Yes.
argument to be made.
Although I will say the cast of the first one, if you go back and watch it in hindsight, it's pretty incredible.
No,
Just
definitely true.
in terms of the writing and the delivery is it like it really bums me out seeing Chris Evans selling out and doing all this fucking crap like
Hey,
red.
look, great. Hey, don't talk about Gray Man. It's coming up down the pipe. I'm kidding. It's not on my top 10. Don't worry. I did consider it. It's not on my top 10.
But you know what I mean. It's just like it bums me out a little bit because
When you see him in Ghosted and you're like, dude, Ransom, come on.
in Knives Out, he's absolutely incredible. And you got Don Johnson. And Glass Onion has a similar effect for a lot of the cast. It's you got um who
You've got
Batista,
Elon Musk, Edward Norton.
Elon Musk, Edward Norton, who honestly that he's not my favorite part of this
No,
movie.
he is. I actively think the weakest part of that
Yes.
movie.
Yes.
Janelle Monáe, she's great in it. She plays two roles, plays both of them well. There's
She's
a
a
plot twist where you're like, oh wow, that's actually really effective. Catherine
yes.
Hahn is in it. It was kind of people are now saying there's the Renaissance happening.
Hmm.
Look, man, I've been down with Catherine Hahn since Step Brothers. Okay, so I don't think there's a Renaissance.
Yeah,
Leslie Odom Jr. really fun. They gave him some horrible facial hair though, and
they
I
did.
feel bad for the guy. Kate Hudson, she's pretty good. Dave Batista rocks
Kate
so hard in
Hudson,
this
Kate
movie.
Hudson and Batista are the kind of stars of the supporting cast, I would say.
Yeah, and then Jessica Henwick and our beloved friend Tim Rose, the love of his life, Madeline Klein.
Hmm.
Which maybe you're gonna fight him to death over Tucker. That's between you two. Obviously, feel free. Um, and then, but I mean, you go to these movies for Daniel Craig, and he does excellently well, and they're well written by Ryan Johnson, and they're well directed. My only big issue with Glass Onion was just the climax of the movie. I don't want to get into spoilers, but I don't know if it necessarily paid off the way I wanted it to. I have heard some people say that about the original Glass Onion. I don't share that belief. Hopefully, Wake Up Dead Man maybe delivers a little bit more of that the conclusion or catharsis we want. My theory is still that Josh Brolin is the one dying in Wake Up Dead Man. He's the
Okay.
named character. He gives off big "you're gonna be killed" energy. And I thought it was good, and I had a lot of fun with it. So Glass Onion, Tucker, I think that's a great pick. Question slash trivia for you, Tucker. Who played the gong in Glass Onion? The gong was actually voiced by a
Joseph,
human.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes, our boy JGL. Ryan Johnson's like, all right, stand here and cluck your tongue
Because
and make gong noises.
he's been in every Ryan Johnson movie.
Even The Last Jedi, which
Yep.
is just a movie that happened. Tucker, I think Glass Onion is great. Would you rather, we're getting into fall, would you rather get a week at that house from the first Knives Out, set in Massachusetts, the red and orange and leaves everywhere, warm, toasty, or Tucker, do you want a week in the Greek beach of Glass Onion?
I would pick the Glass Onion compound personally.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would like the house from the first Knives Out. You can tell that house gets toasty.
Yeah, I enjoy the ocean and warm weather. So
Mhm.
I'd take, but I'd happily visit the castle in the first and Knives Out. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, and it does seem like the Greek beach maybe comes with Ethan Hawke Butler. And the funny thing is, he's credited as Ethan Hawke, and I'm like, did Edward Norton, Elon Musk just buy Ethan Hawke and make him be a butler? Okay, cool, good world building from Ryan Johnson. Well, for me at number 9, I have Barbarian. Tucker, I'm guessing you don't have this one either because
Nope.
you are not a demented freak like I am. Well, Barbarian, I think rocks really hard. Is I did have no expectations from it. I was like, okay, it's Bill Skarsgård in a horror movie, and then when it kicks into high gear, it has essentially a climax midway through, and I was like, whoa, okay, this is the movie we're in. Barbarian at its beginning definitely feels like a horror movie you've seen before, right? There's a woman going to a job interview, but the day before the job interview, she comes to Detroit, she goes to an Airbnb, turns out it's been double booked. Okay, she's going to be killed by the person who it's being double booked with, whatever it may be. And then it starts twisting and turning those conventional ideas of the horror movie. And at the end, it just goes full bonkers, and there's some plot twists, and you're sitting there, and you're like, this movie is insane in the best way. Zach Krager, his new horror movie, the trailer for it literally just came out. It looks quite good. I'm really excited for it. Georgina Campbell in Barbarian, she's our main character. She's fantastic. As mentioned, Bill Skarsgård in this movie, good. For me, the person who was best in this movie is Justin Long. He plays the worst person in the world, and he, is convicted or accused of assault, and he's like, he definitely did it, and the movie doesn't pull any punches with it, and he's just so incredibly hateable, which, that's the entire job of his character, is to just be the number one menace. And there's some stuff he does at the end where you're just like, oh, I can't wait for you to die. And then, you eventually do get that comeuppance. I just thought Barbarian was a very effective, well shot, well designed, well written horror movie that was conventional and enjoyable. And then towards the back half was absolutely absurd in the best way. And I got to see someone's head crushed like a rotten pumpkin, and that rocked incredibly hard. Tucker, I know you're not a big horror movie fan. I would recommend Barbarian to just about everyone, though. Like, that is one where it's not like like Saw or Hostel where it's torture porn, and it's not like demons or ghosts. I know some people are like, hey, I believe in those. I don't want to see them in horror movies. That's why I think Barbarian kind of just is the perfect meeting point, and it might be a really good intro horror movie. So number 9, I have Barbarian. I loved it when I saw it in theaters. I multiple times I leaned over to my friend Cam and went, "This was incredible," and he and I are both going, "Yeah!" every time someone died. So we bring a very strong energy to the show. What do you have at number 9?
Number 9, I'm gonna say what I have, and then we're gonna save it because I can't do it the justice that Gabe can do it. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, an
Hell,
excellent, amazing animated film that brought back a beloved character that Gabe can do much more justice than I can. So we're
absolutely.
we're on to the eights.
Well, at 8, I have the greatest airplane movie ever made. Tucker, I'm really hoping you have this one. It's Bullet Train. Oh, do you not have Bullet Train?
Out of my top 10.
Oh, dude. Bullet Train, I think for me, may be the second most fun movie of 2022. There's obviously one we're going to get to in just a minute where we all went to the danger zone. But Bullet Train, it was it's a great action movie. You've got a great group of characters in it, and it's incredibly violent. Sign me up. Brad Pitt is fantastic in this movie. People were kind of upset that like his character is just 80% therapy talk. I thought it was really, really funny. Is it the same character that he just played in Wolves? Yes. Yes, it is. I'm okay with that. Sometimes one note isn't necessarily bad if you're really good at that one note. I point out John Mulaney. That's my example. Joey King is in this movie. She's really good. Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry, they're the best part of this movie. They play Lemon and Tangerine. They make Thomas the Tank Engine like a system for morality. And so when it gets called back at the end of the movie, you're just like, whoa, okay, yeah, that was really effective. Andrew Koji, Hiroki Sanada, whom we love, who just got his Emmy, he's incredible. Michael Shannon, Bad Bunny, they're not in the movie long, but I'm like, oh my God, that's Bad Bunny. Oh, that's Michael Shannon, you know? They do make Michael Shannon do a Russian accent, which isn't incredible. It's not the best Russian accent you've ever heard, but he does his best. Sandra Bullock is in the movie for about 13 seconds, but her voice is in it for a bunch of it. Zazie Beetz is great. And this movie also has a bunch of really good cameos. Channing Tatum is in it. He's awesome. I feel like I'm forgetting. Oh, Ryan Reynolds briefly. I thought Bullet Train was a really effective movie with great fight scenes, and the soundtrack I think was done so effectively because I took a bunch of classic rock songs that we all love. You know, Holding Out for a Hero, Staying Alive by the Bee Gees, etc. And they made them like J-pop covers. And I was like, this is perfect because I know the song. I don't even have to understand what they're saying. I know the words to Staying Alive. And I thought it brought in the ambiance while also like giving me something to connect to. I thought it rocked. And as I mentioned, it was also just really violent. And as listeners of this show know, violent action movies are a real way to my heart. Ripping open someone's chest and removing their heart is a good way to get to my own. I cannot wait for the Mortal Kombat 2 movie coming out in 2025. Tucker, you don't have Bullet Train on your list. Do you have a favorite sequence or something from this movie?
Um, I do love I love the back and forth between orange what are they?
Lemon
Orange,
and Tangerine.
lemon and tangerine. Where where they're first introduced and it's the two of them and then is it Logan Lerman is
Yes,
the
yes, Logan Lerman. And I remember I watched it with my brother Ben, and we were just sitting going, is that Logan Lerman? Is Logan Lerman just random? Okay, yes, it's Logan Lerman. Cool. All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's just that's two characters that I would very happily take a spin-off about.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I would love a spin-off with them. I think for me, my favorite sequence in the movie, there's a really good and inventive fight scene between Brad Pitt and Bad Bunny, and both of them did their own fight scene for it, which is you can see their faces, and they're using a briefcase in a fight, and it's really well done. They're like bouncing it off of each other and like blocking knives with it, and then eventually someone gets their neck snapped with a briefcase. It's awesome. Really inventive, and I had a lot of fun with it. Bullet Train is a perfect movie. No, the CGI at the end gets like it wasn't probably done all the way, but I just had a tremendous amount of fun. And sometimes I just want to watch a fun movie. So Bullet Train rocks so hard. I had a lot of fun with it. Tucker, what is your number 8?
On a completely different tone and level of filmmaking, we're gonna go with Charlotte Wells' After Sun here.
Yeah, completely different movie. Paul Mescal does not kill anyone in After Sun.
No, no. Besides himself, kind of.
Yeah. Well, Kurt Cobain POV.
Unclear. Anyway, it's just I don't need to talk. It's been talked about a lot. It's very how do I say this? It's a very well renowned amongst
Mhm.
the
It deserved all the renown it got.
correct. It's very well renowned amongst the snobbier crowd, I would say, than maybe Bullet Train is amongst this podcast's crowd.
Mhm.
But After Sun it's a technically excellent movie. Mezcal's performance is pretty incredible. And really big perk for this movie in my eyes is its usage of under pressure. Just
Yes.
incredible usage of music throughout
Losing My Religion was also used really well in this movie.
yeah. It just uses music really well. Gabe Brewers just escaped a bases loaded jam to maintain the one run deficit.
Okay, not bad. Thank you for the you are a sports reporter at heart. You'll be like
Yeah.
After Sun, beautiful usage of music. And oh, okay, nope, you're good. You're good. Don't worry.
Anything I'm missing on After Sun? Definitely one of the
Um,
shocking endings to a
yes.
movie. It's not a film for everybody. You know, I know people that it didn't really click for. and that's fine. It's definitely very art forward.
Yeah. It's also sweet and thoughtful, and some people may say it's too sweet and thoughtful because it is definitely one person just reminiscing about their dead parent. And there's a couple moments where we're like, okay, it kind of feels like maybe I shouldn't be here. Like
Yeah.
maybe this memory was just for you. Now, I ultimately feel very lucky to be let into that story, but I do understand that feeling of like, I almost feel like a voyeur sharing an experience that I wasn't designed to share with you.
Yeah.
There's a really beautiful moment, and one thing that's incredible about After Sun is it's one of those movies you can talk about, and you might not agree with it, but there's a bunch of sequences where the Paul Mescal character is dancing in a club, and I left the theater and I was like, oh, that was such a beautiful way to depict, his fighting spirit. Like he just kept going, he just kept dancing through life, even when he's very obviously depressed. And my friend was like, no, you're reading too much into that. That's just a man who loved to dance, and his daughter like catching glimpses of him. Don't really know what it was meant to be, and I don't think we're supposed to know. I think we're supposed to pull our straws and come together with our ideas. It's almost like the ending of Killers of the Flower Moon, where on this podcast I got up here and I was like, that's a beautiful way to reflect on the idea that Martin Scorsese promoted violence through films like Goodfellas and Casino, etc. And you were like, I thought that was stupid. He shouldn't have put himself in the movie. It really detracted from it. That's just kind of how art works. It's subjective. And I think After Sun was a beautiful thing to talk about.
Yep. Thank you, Gabe. And we are on to number 7.
Yes, I don't know if you'll have this. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
I don't, so feel free to let it rip, Gabe.
Okay, so this one, Best Animated Feature, and I think it was very deserving of it. Guillermo del Toro is a fantastic filmmaker, except for when he made The Shape of Water. That movie was for a lot of people. It wasn't for us, and that's okay. But what Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio does so well is it takes the story of Pinocchio, that because of the Disney movie, or just how popular it is as a fairy tale, even something like Shrek, we all know the story. But then you really think about the story and you go, oh, that's just extremely incredibly dark. So that's one of the things that Del Toro does so well. He makes all the fairy tales the dark fairy tales, because the story of Pinocchio is incredibly messed up. Someone loses their son and then a wooden puppet comes to life and is saying it's your son. I'd be like, no, you're going into a fireplace. Sorry, big dog. Like I'm chopping you up. And then they're all turned into donkeys because they disobey their parents, and no one has a conscience. It's just a bug living inside your head. That is some scary stuff, and this movie doesn't shy away from showing it, but it also is very sweet and thoughtful and romantic, and not romantic in like a love way between two adults. Romantic about the past, romantic about the idea of a fairy tale, romantic about good morals and integrity and being a good person. And I think those are things that Del Toro really cares about. And, he propagates them through stuff like Kronos and Hellboy. I talked about Shape of Water, how it wasn't for me, but it's very obviously it's stuff that Del Toro really cares about. The animation for the movie is incredible. There's a reason it won Best Animated Feature. It just looks incredibly well made. I had the same thought after seeing The Wild Robot, where I was just like, this was very obviously made with a lot of love and a very particular sense of style that paid off. And then there's just some really, really good performances in Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Christoph Waltz plays a Nazi. He's played it before. He does a good job. Ron Perlman plays a bad person. He's played it before. He does a good job. My favorite performance in that movie, Ewan McGregor plays Sebastian J. Cricket, who is essentially the Jiminy Cricket for Disney fans. And Ewan McGregor as the voice of your conscience is just like a really good choice. And then Tilda Swinton plays the Blue Fairy. Well, she's not called the Blue Fairy in the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio. We would call her the Blue Fairy. She's like the angel of death and like the harbinger of souls, and her voice is super intimidating and just works really well. And the movie looks good, and it's got important theming, and it's also just a well-made movie. So Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, you can watch it on Netflix. I started it the other day when I was trying to think of what would be in my list, and as I watched it, I was like, nope, I can't not put this in the list, and then trying to figure out where I'd put it. And I feel like 7 is kind of the right place for it. There's some stuff that's definitely better than it, but I think it's a really effective film.
Okay, for 7 for me, I have Jordan Peele's Nope.
This one didn't make my list, and I wanted it to. it wasn't quite there.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, this is a really fun thriller with a little bit of horror sprinkled in there, but mostly just a UFO thriller that is like kind of an homage to a genre that was mastered by Spielberg, which is why I'm really excited to see him return to that. But kind of a 70s and 80s genre of alien papers that we don't get anymore. So it was kind of it felt at times like going back in a time machine with a different lens, which was really interesting. It's a movie that definitely appreciates history in a different way than many other movies do, which is also a nice change of pace. And it has some fun performances. I think Daniel Kaluuya is solid, um, as kind of our quiet cowboy, which was kind of a perfect role for him because
Mhm.
he is kind of a quiet guy, I would say, in most of his performances. But Stephen Yoon as the
He's so good.
is this as the circus leader is really damn good in this. And then Brandon Pereira, I think is his name, or Perea or something like that. He plays the video store guy, and he has a lot of fun. The You could tell Jordan Peele is the right guy to be directing a movie where you kind of have a character in there for comic relief. Like all of his scary movies, there's some form of comic relief throughout,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
and this guy is definitely the provider of that in Nope. And yeah, I mean, it has some of the most fun set pieces from this entire year. It has some great stunts, and it's a very visually pleasing movie.
It is. I would say here's a hot take. Maybe it's not a hot take. Kiki Palmer in Nope is the best leading performance from any Jordan Peele movie. So you get Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out, Lupita Nyong'o in Us, and Kiki Palmer in Nope. I think of those three, I think Kiki Palmer in Nope is the best one. The alien design in this movie, Tucker, what's the colloquial name for it? It's like jean jacket, right? I think.
Jean Jacket is what they call the alien.
And I think the alien design is so new, and it kind of looks like there's a big meme that's like angels, like how they're portrayed in the media, biblically accurate angels, and it was kind of like that's maybe how an alien would look. And then everything with Stephen Yoon and the monkey, no thank you, that is terrifying. And I was like,
Yeah.
I kind of want to also see this movie, Jordan Peele, or maybe
Yeah.
just like a 20-minute short film, because I was like, whoa, that's terrifying. And also, I'm so down. I think Nope is a fantastic movie. Cool piece of trivia for you, Tucker. I don't know if you remember when they're shooting the commercial in this movie. The
Yeah.
director of that commercial is Osgood Perkins, the director of Longlegs, a movie from this year that I loved. So
There you go.
cool little. I was like, oh my gosh, hey! And I did not know that until I rewatched this movie. So Tucker, I think Nope is really good. I already talked about my number six, which was Glass Onion. What do you have at number six?
I have, speaking of Steven Spielberg, I have Steven Spielberg's The Fablemans here.
Okay,
Um,
now also
another
not on my list.
another very, this one, if you appreciate the history of movies and especially Spielberg's career, you're gonna dig this. And it's kind of a love letter to his upbringing in the movies, and it has some great sequences. I love when the kid shoots the World War II short film. That's so much fun. Um, and it's definitely a slower a slower grind, but it's a nice homage. I looked on it a lot less favorably when it came out than I do now, because I really did kind of treat it a little harshly and call it kind of his Oscar bait movie because he's done that a few times recently, a la The Post. But
Hey, you know I'm a defender for the post, Tucker.
I know
Go
that
on now.
movie. That movie's the most obvious Oscar bait in history, but we don't
And and it worked on me, man. Okay.
no, sometimes it works. Like Bridge of Spies got me. I mean that was kind of Oscar
Oh,
bait.
Bridge of Spies rocks so hard. I don't
It
care what
does
anyone
rock. It
says.
does rock, but it's kind of like
Did Rylance end up winning Best Supporting Actor for
he
that?
did. He did.
Probably should have gone to Ruffalo for Spotlight in hindsight. Maybe.
Rylance is pretty good. And
He's
Spotlight won Best Picture, which is
yeah, that's
solid.
true. Also, I mean, you
Uh,
can't forget Rylance's work in the BFG. Come on now, Tucker.
yeah, I agree. The Fablemans is it's also kind of a love letter to cinematographers
Hmm.
in a lot of ways because it's, you know, shot on all this modern technology and stuff, but it's about a kid who just wanted to make movies and like how the magic of that has we've gotten away from what made movies so magical at the beginning, which is kind of what made Spielberg. So I appreciate the film's message. It tackles a lot. Sometimes it tries to tackle a little bit too much. There's some attempts to, and part of it is just Spielberg's childhood, but like, getting into the anti-Semitism that his family experienced, his mother's mental health, and granted, Michelle Williams, basically without Michelle Williams, this movie doesn't work
Hmm.
because the mother is such a pivotal plot device and just character in this movie. And I don't think any other actress could have done her justice like Michelle Williams.
No. I know there's all the talk of like this is the most Nicole Kidman role that there ever has been. No, this
No.
Michelle Williams was absolutely the right choice. She is the star of the movie. Paul Dano, fantastic. Seth Rogen, I feel like Steven Spielberg, like he was talking about it. He's like, I hated Seth on that set because he did a good job of playing the man who stole my mother. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, Steve, TMI. You don't like,
TMI.
not all things have to be said out loud. Maybe we don't share that information.
Well,
Gabriel LaBelle, it's
he
been
made a movie about it.
he did. That's true. Gabriel LaBelle, it's been really like fascinating to see him. He's like one of the stars we've seen grow in front of us. You know, he did the god awful Predator movie in 2018, and then he did the Fablemans, and now he's Lorne Michaels in Saturday Night.
Yep.
And you know, it was out in New York, and Los Angeles last week, and people are saying that movie rocks. I had received multiple texts saying that you and I are. There's a high chance it could be our #1 movie of the year. Someone said the real timeness is going to suck the two of you in, and I believe that. And then Julia
Yeah.
Butters, who is fantastic in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She's the young child actress. She's so good in the Fablemans. Tucker, I just cut you off. I'm sorry.
No,
What were you going to say about Saturday Night?
the real time thing is that's like a Tucker Gabriel
That's
trap.
catnip. Yeah. It's an actual trap, not like an M. Night Shyamalan trap, a movie that was wildly
Believe me,
disappointing.
believe me,
But
we'll be talking about real timeness in a little bit.
yes. All right. Well, at #5, what I have, and I don't know if you'll have this movie. I have the Best Picture winner, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor. Won a lot of Academy Awards. It's Everything Everywhere All at Once. It kind of feels like it won
Hey,
everything.
do we have the same brain?
Do you also have it at 5?
I sure do.
We're synced up right now, buddy. We also did talk about it, so we might have actually put it at #5 in that episode. I wanted to re-listen to it, and I was like, no, because I don't want to like mix up my, the order of my list. So let's talk about this, Tucker. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Is it the best movie of 2022? I would argue no.
I would say it checks the most boxes from a
Sure.
movie this year. It checks tremendous filmmaking and technical aspects. It checks, compelling story. It checks strong performances across the board, I would say. It checks, you get a laugh, you get some action, music is entertaining. It and I'm not saying all of those things are better than every other movie, but
Mhm.
it checks all of them, which I think is like best picture, you're looking for the best overall movie. And I think from a if you're looking at it in terms of what movie did most things well, this is the pick for this year.
Sure, that's completely fair. I think Everything Ever All at Once managed to be it was three movies, and it felt like three distinct things, but also managed to be cohesive. It was a fantastic martial arts movie, an exploration of generational trauma and how if we don't fix shit, we're gonna pass it on to people, and also just a really good sci-fi movie. I think it was all three of those at the same time. And it had a little bit of the Daniel zany humor that I wasn't personally fantastically crazy about. I wish the wormhole that's the center of this movie, I wish it wasn't an everything bagel. For me, I'm just like, take that a little more seriously, because that's the main plot driver. But also, you know, like that's just the filmmakers they're gonna do it how they want to do it. And that's totally fine. The reason this movie works so well is everyone who is a part of it. Michelle Yeoh, she is incredibly fierce and super vulnerable, and also we just know she's a badass. If you've watched the martial arts movies of the 21st century, like 20% of them just have Michelle Yeoh kicking the crap out of everyone. And it's believable because she is just this fierce, strong woman. And then she just completely drops the guard and lets us in. And it's so brave and it works so well. Stephanie Hsu is great in this movie. It's weird how her career has progressed since this movie. She gets nominated for Best Supporting Actress. And it might have literally just been maybe the way her projects were booked and scheduled, but her follow-up film to Everything Ever All at Once was the film Girls Trip, which wasn't for me. We talked about it last year on the show. It's got an audience. It's not me. And then she was in The Wild Robot, and she was good. But yes, Tucker, was it for you? Is that what you're saying?
No, it was not Girls Trip. It was actually Joyride.
Oh, Joyride. I'm sorry. Yes, Joyride, which was a blatant copy of Girls Trip. Pardon me. It didn't work for me, but I understand people liked it. Ke Kwan is in this movie, and he's stellar in it. And I was re-watching his Academy Awards speech because Ke Kwan and Brendan Fraser, two people whom I love, both won Academy Awards this year, and they both give beautiful speeches. And I remember watching it, and I was thinking, he's in this movie enough to be nominated for Best Actor. Like maybe he should have been, because he's really, really good. There's a part in the movie though where he is cutting the webbing between his fingers with paper cuts, and every time I watch it, I'm like, that's the scariest thing that happened in all of 2022. Like, forget Barbarian. Yeah, there's some gross stuff in there. Nothing is grosser than paper cuts in between the finger webbing. And then Jamie Lee Curtis is awesome in Everything Ever All at Once. And there was the whole Nepo baby conversation. Maybe that's why she won. Who cares? She's good. She's been good in lots of things. I think Everything Ever All at Once was just a really, well-made martial arts movie, a great sci-fi movie, and a beautiful movie that also had just fantastic representation, which I thought was great. Tucker, do you have anything you want to add about Everything Ever All at Once, or did I say
Not
all
really.
of it?
You covered all of it pretty much.
Yeah. Do you think you could beat Michelle Yeoh in a fight? Just what are your
No,
thoughts here?
nope,
Okay, I
not
don't think
even.
I could either. I'm extremely scared of her. I feel like she probably knows like 15 ways to kill you, just like a couple movements of her fingers. And
Yep,
then you're paralyzed and your brain shuts down.
I would
Um,
agree.
Tucker, I know what I have at number 4. You have later on the list. At number 4, I have the Batman. I know that's gonna come in a different place for you.
Okay,
I don't want to start a fight. I don't want to start a fight. You know I love the Batman. Okay, you
okay.
know I love it. What do you have at number 4?
I have the Banshees of Inisherin.
Okay, talk about it. So this is one, and I said it when we were doing the intro to this. Beautiful movie, very touching, moving movie. I really haven't watched it in the last 2 years. If I were to rewatch it before this episode, it might have been on this list. So it is by no means putting it down. It just hasn't become repeat viewing like other movies from this year have been for me.
Yeah, I think it's been called one of the best movies of the decade so far. So just gonna throw that out there. But
I'm not putting it down.
no, I'm just saying. Anyway, it's what this movie is, if you just simplify it, is it's a breakup movie, which is
Yep.
really funny because we don't think of, friendships like relationships in that sense. And it's, if you really have a friend like this that doesn't like imagine if Gabe just stopped talking to me one day. And
Would never do it, buddy. Don't you worry.
if I texted Gabe and was like, "Hey, can we make a podcast?" And Gabe's response was, "I'm gonna cut my fingers off until you stop texting me." That's that's what in essence what this movie is. And I think, that when you look at it from that perspective, it's a very, very elegant and touching way to tell that very difficult story that I'm sure, everybody listening and I'm sure Gabe and I have both had this experience where it's like sometimes you have to let go of people and it's
Hmm.
hard and sometimes one person doesn't take it all that well. And I think this movie does it just absolutely perfectly. The performances are incredible. Colin Farrell as sort of this aloof, happy-go-lucky guy who just wants to hang out with his donkey and go to the pub and enjoy a Guinness. And then Brendan Gleeson as this really troubled, tortured musician who doesn't really know what he wants in life and in his old age and just decides one day that he's not getting the fulfillment from his friend that he's looking for and that's enough for him. So I think with those two you get incredible performances and then obviously in another year it's really a bummer because for me like I would those two are incredible in their own right. And then the supporting cast is also just
Hmm.
fantastic. Carrie Condon as Colin Farrell's sister is I'm I want to see her in more. I really do because
Well,
she's
hey, you haven't watched Night Swim, buddy. That's on you. Okay,
yeah,
she's cooking in Night Swim.
I know, I know. And I know she was good in Ray Donovan according to Larry, which is so on brand, but
Yeah, no, he
uh,
gives off big Larry Donovan. Yeah, that makes sense.
yes. Ray Donovan.
Yeah,
That's
whatever.
Um, but I would really like to see her in more because she was fucking excellent. And really I thought
Oh, she'll be in F1 with Brad Pitt, the Joseph
I
Kosinski movie.
can't wait for that. But she's incredible. And then of course, really the coming out party for Barry have we decided on a
Kyogen.
Kyogen? We've
Yes.
decided that's the official pronunciation because we've gone back and
Yes.
forth over the years.
Yes.
Obviously prior to this, he had some big roles in Dunkirk and Eternals, I think,
Eternals.
before this, but I wouldn't say that Eternals was a great, you know, oh, this guy's gonna be a star based off of Eternals. I will say he was one of the better aspects of that movie, but not the he did not create the buzz that I think his performances in Banshees of Inisherin did. And then finally, as somebody who has Irish blood flowing through me, I feel like this movie really made me visually want to go to Ireland. It captures the beauty of a really pretty bleak place in such a captivating and beautiful way that I now yearn to go to my roots of
Yes. The children yearn for the mines, and Tucker yearns for Ireland. I think one thing that really upset me is when people were like, "Oh, it's so heavy-handed that the movie is set during a civil war." And I'm like,
what?
I was like, "That's the theming. That's how it works, dude. They
That was
literally bring up the Civil War at the end of the movie. That's how the script works."
that was a
Like
complaint.
that was, yes, on film Twitter, which is, as we know, a cesspool that is just exceptionally dark and vacuous. At number three, Tucker, I suspect you also have this somewhere else. Top Gun Maverick.
That you is that your number three?
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
Mine as well. So we
Oh,
are.
perfect. Top Gun Maverick is just an yes, exactly. Yes, Top Gun Maverick is just a thrill ride in a movie theater. That is what it is.
Should we just leave it at that?
Here's what I'll say. Tom
Banana,
Cruise as president of movies, there is some strong competition, right? Tom Hanks was saying, I'm an elder statesman, and we're saying yes, but Elvis. And Tarantino was like, I haven't done anything since 2019. And we're like, but you like feet too much, so like, all due respect, sir, it can't be you. Top Gun Maverick, it saved movie theaters. Like it genuinely, it just saved movie theaters. Many chains have said that they would not have had operating capital had Top Gun Maverick not made $1.5 billion. And people went to see it because it is an exceptional movie, but also it's just important to me because the movie theater is a sacred space. I mean, like without sounding pretentious and douchey, the movie theater is church almost. It is like
Yeah.
where we go to observe art and to share experiences.
What does Nicole Kidman say?
Nicole Kidman says, we come here for movies. We come here to laugh. We come here to cry. We come here, and really like the experience of
What did
sharing a movie.
what did the guy who saw Love Lies Bleeding come there to do?
Do what you just said, Tucker. Thank you. And it's funny that we're talking about Nicole Kidman in a movie starring Tom Cruise that was also apparently maybe also ghost directed by Tom Cruise. Reports have come out that's like maybe Tom was pretty involved with this,
I
and
think
Chris McQuarrie producing it. It's possible. Who knows? I feel like Joe Kosinski has a style, but I'm sure Tom Cruise was saying, no. I'm driving the plane. Here's how I need you to do it for me. Tom Cruise is great in the movie. Miles Teller is incredible in the movie. Val Kilmer, not in very much of the movie, very, very good in what he's in. It's just a movie that is well made and makes you wanna just fly an Apache attack helicopter or a stealth bomber or whatever. And it rocks. I know some people were really upset that they don't name the country they're fighting. To that I say, who cares? They're just called the enemy. It feels like a 90s video game almost, where it's like Solid Snake, the enemy has is impersonating a US senator.
It's a Metal Gear Solid plot for sure.
And you know what? John Hamm delivers it well. Like
Yes.
John Hamm being the person who does the exposition, I think is the perfect choice. Ed Harris quite good in this movie.
Oh, it's a hell yeah movie cast because every person you see them and you're like, yeah, hell yeah. You're fired up to be there.
And it saved Miles Teller from the black hole of Fan Four Stick. And for that, we will always be grateful. Top Gun Maverick, I think it's just stellar, and it really could be at number one here.
I think so too. But there's two movies that I kind of can't pass up. So for my number two, I have what I think is the most beautifully made and probably the most important movie from this year in my eyes, in Edward Berger's All Quiet on the Western Front.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's a visceral depiction of the horrors of war that I think could be shown like in schools. I think it's just it's a horrifying tale that you can't take your eyes off of. And I think that's important because, a lot like we go from Top Gun Maverick, which glorifies the American military industrial complex, and we're like jet fighters, fuck yeah, man, like we're fired up about it. And then we watch this and we're like, oh, this is like Tom Cruise is doing flybys in his fucking $1 billion jet. Well, this poor guy is in the goddamn mud watching his buddies get flamethrowered to death.
Am I the problem? Am I the problem? Is it me?
It might be us, but it's just, oh God, every second of this movie you're glued to the screen, and it's just, I mean, the fact that it's a Netflix movie just absolutely gobsmacks me,
Hmm.
uh, because I didn't know if we've critiqued Netflix enough over the last month, but the the shock value that they're capable of making a film of this quality is truly pretty unbelievable. Um, Obviously, it's mostly in German, which I get if you're not, super into subtitles, can be difficult for you. I don't really like, personally, I don't really care, and I think you kind of just, it's kind of in that Letters from Iwo Jima, um where you just, the dialogue almost is second to the overall story, which I think says a lot about the filmmaking itself. Um, and it's just, God, that fucking ending. It hits like a freight train, and you know it's coming. You know it's
Hmm.
coming, and it still hits like a freight train. And I was like kind of catatonic for a good 2 weeks after watching this movie. It was tough to pod about. In hindsight, I'm able to get through it now. But yeah, I mean, it absolutely deserved best cinematography, which it won. And I think it had a very, very compelling case to be the year's best picture. I think it was really just held back by the fact that it's a you know movie that's entirely in German, made about the German army in World War One, which is, you know, not quite as controversial if they made this movie about World War Two, if you catch my drift,
I catch your drift.
but
Uh,
the Hollywood is, they really hate that Kaiser Wilhelm, don't they, Gabe?
well, as they should. Let's be real here. Not exactly the best guy in the world. Let's just remember that. Um, little amazing fact about this movie: Leslie Patterson, the screenwriter. So, for anyone who doesn't know, All Quiet on the Western Front was a famous German novel, which was then adapted into a film in the 20s that won one of the very first Best Picture awards. I think it actually won the third Best Picture,
Agree.
and so to preserve it, it cost $15,000. Leslie Patterson did not have the money. In 2011, they started participating in triathlons, winning $20,000. And she did it for 5 years in a row. So for 5 years, Tucker, she won 5 triathlons, made $100,000, only to save the rights to make this movie. And she said, I am not a triathlon runner. I am a writer, but I need money. That is incredible. That is just a fantastic fact. I don't think I could even like place in a triathlon. I think I might die in the middle of it. So good on Leslie Patterson. Number two for me is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which I think is just one of the best animated movies I've ever seen, straight up. Um I had no expectation for this movie. In fact, I actively thought it was going to suck. And I said that on the show. I was like, there's no way this is going to be good. The first Puss in Boots was Zach Galifianakis as a giant egg going, oh no, Puss, we gotta get a golden egg or whatever. And I was just like, this is going to be horrible. But instead, what DreamWorks did is they said, have you ever had an anxiety attack or PTSD or trauma? Well, great. We're actually putting it into this movie. And we're also making Puss in Boots John Wick. And you're like, what? You're doing what now? And they do. And this is just an incredibly emotionally effective movie that is a fairy tale, but also just a tale of what it's like to be a human, what it's like to feel like life has passed you by when you're addicted to the spotlight and you're just like, I'm not good enough anymore to share in that spotlight, but damn, I miss its glow. And it's so well told. And Antonio Banderas, I mean, he's talked like how the movie really resonated with him because people were saying he was done with Hollywood. He was doing the Amazon Prime movies where it's like Antonio Banderas for 3 minutes, Offset, 50 Cent, Jean-Claude Van Damme in a pound of flesh. You know, the little movies like that where it's like no one watches them most of the time and they're poorly made. And Antonio Banderas was like, that's how I felt. He was Tucker. He was in Expendables 3. And he was just like, I just felt like my career had passed me by. I was no longer a leading man. And you can tell because he's so good. And then Salma Hayek is fantastic. Harvey Guillen plays Perito, who's a little dog who's like, he's got a distended stomach. And he's like, rub my belly. And it looks so gross, but he wants to become a therapy dog. Florence Pugh's in this movie. She's great. Olivia Colman, fantastic. Ray Winstone, fantastic. The best part of this movie is Weg Nomura as the wolf. Except Tucker, who is he actually? Who is he?
He is death.
He is death. Not metaphorical, not a joke. I am literally death. And it's incredible. They give him this superimposing shadow and a whistle and 2 sickles, and he's just like, I'm here to kill you. No, literally, I'm here to kill you. This is not a movie for children. Can we just... Oh, Tucker, what just happened?
Jackson Churio.
Yes!
Solo under right field. Tie game, Gabe.
Rookie of the Year, Jackson Churio. Oh, I love him. Look, all I'm saying is there's 2 guys named Jackson Merrill and Jackson Churio. And if Churio isn't Rookie of the Year, it's going to be Skeens. But it should be Jackson Churio. And you know it. I know it. Your mother knows it. Shout out to your mom, Tucker. She's a lovely lady. Your dad knows it. Larry knows. He knows ball. I'll tell you who knows ball. John Mulaney. He's our villain. He's Big Jack Horner. People are saying I look like him. I don't see the resemblance personally. I enjoy a pie as much as the next guy, but I don't feel like I'm actually, this character. And then finally, Divine Joy Randolph is in this movie, and she's awesome. She plays Mama Luna, and then she ended up 2 years later, she won her Academy Award for The Holdovers. And we love Divine Joy Randolph. This movie rocks. It's beautiful, and it's so well animated, and every time I watch it, I'm like, damn. This is a masterpiece. And The Wild Robot, Tucker, I'm letting you know right now, is in this same conversation of being one of the best animated movies you'll ever see. I'm very excited for you to see that. Puss in Boots' Last Wish. If I had one wish, we'd be best friends. Love would never end. And I would watch Puss in Boots' Last Wish all the time. It rocks. You can watch it on Peacock. Tucker, who goes next? Is it my number 1 or your number
1? You could just get yours out of the way because we know where mine's going.
Okay, my number 1. Tucker, I really thought this would be on your list. It's Prey. Prey is just, in my mind, is just one of the best action movies I've ever seen. One of the best sci-fi movies I've ever seen. It is so inventive, so well made, and it's also just super important to me based on the representation that's in it. What Prey does really well is it takes everything that you loved from the first Predator, and in some ways it steals a lot of stuff from the first Predator. I 100% recognize that. But then it's like, well, what if you didn't have AK-47s to fight against it, or a Mossberg pump? What if you were fighting against the Predator with a tomahawk and a bow and arrow? And that's what they do. They put it in, was the 19th century? I think it was 19th century, and it is the Predator versus a Comanche warrior named Naru, played by Amber Midthunder. And it is just a really excellent story of how the Predator becomes the prey. The visual effects in this movie are stunning. I've talked about it before. There's a moment where the Predator puts its arm blades into a bear while the Predator is invisible, and the bear of the blood is streaming down and highlighting the outline of the Predator. And it was one of those moments where I did the lean forward meme where I was like, you had my curiosity, now you have my attention. And I was locked in ever since then. There's an incredible, fantastic action sequence in this movie where it's the Predator versus a bunch of racist French trappers who they treat our indigenous main characters horribly, and we're like, oh, you guys are so going to die, and I can't wait until you die in painful ways. And Tucker, they die in some very painful ways. One of them, they attempt to trap the Predator with a bear trap, so it just picks up the bear trap, flips it in his hand, then throws it at them and bear traps their face off. It's flipping around tomahawks. It's got a shield and it's bouncing bullets off of it. Yeah, absolutely. Sign me up. And then there's a great final standoff in this movie. It's just so effectively well made, so beautiful. And as I mentioned, the representation in it is stellar. It was one of the very first movies to have a full Comanche subtitling and closed captioning. And fun fact, the advancements that they made with the software to automatically dub movies into Comanche and to generate those captions, they were financed by Mark Ruffalo, and he hasn't asked for really any credit for it. So good for you, Mark. And they have now completed the entire MCU into Comanche. So it was really cool that the technology pioneered and used in Prey has gone on to, further the ability for indigenous people to see movies, because it's also their country, guys. Let's just say it. Everyone deserves to be able to watch movies, and it's cool when you can watch it in your own language. Dakota Beavers, Michelle Thrush, Stormy Kip, bunch of other big supporting actors. None of them like famous supporting actors, which is great because the main character in this movie is Amber Midthunder and the Predator, and it rocks so hard. And I can't wait for 2025's Badlands, where we get to watch Dakota Fanning set off against the Predator, although it's apparently in the future. I was hoping we'd get another Predator in the past. I thought Japan would be awesome. Hiroyuki Sanada versus like a Predator, Tucker, a Predator Hiroyuki Katana battle.
You have
Sign me
no
up.
honor. You have no honor battling a predator. That would be wild.
And then like does like seppuku, but it stabs the Predator as well.
Yeah.
Like that. It just signed me up. Maybe I'll write the screenplay and I'll send it in to somebody. Who knows? Tucker, we know you're number one. It's a great movie. There's something in the way about it. Tell us about the Batman.
We've done this so many times, Gabe, and there's only so many things I can say, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it's just I've been going back. I've been watching some of the animated series, and then I've also been playing Arkham Knight, and then also watching The Penguin. And it's just it has a level of dedication to the source material that's kind of been missing from Batman live action content and I'm not at all saying that the Nolan films are not absolutely incredible. They're probably, The Dark Knight is probably a better movie than the Batman. But from like just as a person who appreciates the lore and the attention to detail of what really is one of the greatest like fictional worlds that has been built. This movie's like it's just eye candy. It's and it twists it to a point where it's like, okay, you can tell there's still some appreciation, but it's its own unique appreciation rather than just kind of rehashing the same things over and over again. Like the Burton movies kind of tie in well with the animated series because they're cartoonish at times.
Exactly.
The Shoemaker ones, they don't tie into anything. It's just nonsense. Um, and then Nolan grounds us in like what would Batman look like if he were real? And this movie finds such a healthy balance between those two things.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Yes.
And it's so good. It's so good. And the
It
fact that
is.
it what tells you how good this movie is how fucking good a television spin-off about a pretty minor character in the overarching plot of this movie. His television spin-off is fucking incredible.
Yes,
And it's
yes.
like,
Many I can fix her memes going around.
yes,
No, you can't. She's gonna kill you. She is going to murder you.
he's not gonna kill me, don't worry. But oh,
Another?
two-run homer. Braves or
God
not Braves.
bless
Brewers lead.
America,
Garrett
the
Mitchell.
land that I love. Yeah, just
How do you
incredible.
how do you feel about Garrett Mitchell and Willie Adamas?
I think Adamas leaves, Mitchell stays.
Okay.
That's. I think we're gonna do everything we can. I think Adamas wants to go to the San Diego Padres and play with Reyes. They are very close friends.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
I was more thinking like in this exact moment, how do you feel about
I think Willie Adamas is a stud shortstop who's having for some reason he cooled off at like the worst possible time. But that's the thing about Willie Adamas; he can always turn it back on. I would say Jackson Chourio is electric, and I
I was
love Pat Murphy. Playoff Pat, I want to kiss him. I'm going to. I'm
Are
gonna
you,
kiss him on the
are you
lips.
a playoff enjoyer, an enthusiast? You
Look,
even
all I'm saying is, where are the Chicago Cubs? Don't see them in the playoffs. Don't see them in the
no,
playoffs at all. Who will tell you who I do see? The Milwaukee Brewers, led by playoff Pat. Going
that's
back to the
some
Batman.
listeners of the show are not gonna like that commentary, but
Hey Dak. Hey there, buddy. Hey, don't worry. You got your Oregon Ducks ranked. I believe they're number 6. You're doing great in the Big Ten, man. Good for you. Chicago Cubs, Shota Imanaga. He's good. Ian Happ. He's good. But you didn't make the playoffs. And that's the metric that matters.
right.
We just definitely lost a listener. It is what it is. The Batman is stellar. It's incredibly well made. Robert Pattinson, he's so good as Batman. Zoe Kravitz, she's the best Catwoman. She just is. Michelle Pfeiffer is just like gorgeous. Zoe is the best Catwoman.
Different, but different performances. Like
Yes,
Michelle
yes,
Pfeiffer, more cartoony,
cartoony. Yes.
and Zoe Kravitz grounded, but still very faithful to the character
Mm-hmm.
in her intentions and her just general like behavior.
Yeah, and great supporting performances. You mentioned Colin Farrell, John Turturro. Just Commissioner Gordon.
I really
Everyone.
want a Jeffrey Wright the series.
Yeah.
What
Also, Jeffrey Wright's character in the Bond series, we learned is set in Milwaukee. So maybe we could get like a Bond Milwaukee show. I think would be great. At the same time, a Gordon show. You and I would both be eating. That's what I'm saying. We'd both be incredibly happy men.
speaking of Jeffrey Wright, gonna be really funny when the people that don't know what's gonna happen in The Last of Us season 2.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I don't know if people know what's gonna happen in The Last of Us season 2.
I
And
I think it's really funny because I think the video game crowd is almost just anticipating the internet like
yes,
like the amount of memes that I've seen that are like cat is it Catherine Deaver?
uh, yes.
Catherine or Caitlin? I can't
I,
remember.
I think it's Kate. I'm not sure.
Okay. Anyway, she's gonna need like fucking 24/7 armored security after
Yes.
what happens because if people hate the fucking Game of Thrones guy, or sorry, not
Oh.
Game, House of the Dragon guy,
Mm-hmm.
as much as they hate him, just fucking wait until, oh my God.
There's some close people in my personal life who are like, I love The Last of Us season 1. I can't wait to see what happens in season 2. And I'm like, um, yeah. And I
I
haven't
mean,
told anyone.
I think it's
I'm
going to be incredible, and I get, so we're way off topic here, but it just Jeffrey Wright sent me on this tangent. I get the people that are upset about um Ellie, just she looks the same age,
she
and it stinks that she's clearly just not gonna she's not gonna look older ever, probably in her
it,
entire life. And it's like there's nothing you can do about it. I think her performance in the first season is strong enough that I trust her to handle this in the second season, especially if you kind of anchor her with some really high quality supporting performances, which they've surrounded her with a pretty incredible cast for the second season. I mean, there's we how we got here, Jeffrey Wright. You got Caitlin Deaver, who has been really, really good on TV in her own right.
Mhm.
Obviously, you got Pedro returning for I'm gonna say 3/4 of the
Yes.
season, and
Or Tucker
we're
until a season finale.
yes, and we're not gonna get because see you could tell Seattle is in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is it's either going to be parallel storytelling, kind of like the game, or he's going to make it most of the season, and the season's going to finish in Seattle
Yes. I could
and
also see that.
pick up from there, and they'll film a lot faster because they won't have to film in two different places.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean Catherine O'Hara also in this season is pretty cool, and it's just like I'm excited. Trailer looks damn good. And
Yeah.
I don't know how we got there from the Batman.
Well, I'll wrap up by saying the Batman rocks. It has a great usage of music, and Michael Giacchino's score
do we
is transcendent.
so do we think two questions about the Batman 2 then? Do we think they just keep the same song, Something in the Way, or do they use a different Nirvana song? But then does it become gimmicky? Is question A. Question B, there's talk about Greg Fraser maybe being too busy to be the
Yep.
cinematographer. Do but do we really like now that especially with the Penguin and the visual style is looking the same, even though it's on TV. Obviously, it's not the same quality just because it's TV, but the style is there. Do we trust somebody else to handle this? Those
I
two
think
questions.
I trust Deakins. I will say the visual style of the Batman, Tucker.
That's a big ask.
It is. It is. I'm just saying the visual style of the Batman is very similar to Prisoners, and I mean that in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Those two movies look very similar to each
So
other.
so I think a good compromise is Deakins comes to do Dune Part 3, or to do Doom Messiah, and Reeves gets to keep Frazier for the second Batman movie.
Yeah, and a huge part of the word of mouth for the Batman was, of course, the cinematography. I mean, there's a reason the hallway illuminated by muzzle flashes was in the trailers because everyone loved it. Like, there's a reason it was everywhere because it looks incredible and we haven't seen that before. I think they're going to do everything they can to have Fraser in it. And I think in terms of will they use the same Nirvana song, I don't see them using the same song. I think they might stick to Nirvana songs. I could see them playing Come As You Are, for example. That
Yeah, I
has
think
kind
that
of the
one's I think that one's too upbeat.
it might be. The other thing is they might do something in the same vein, something by Audio Slave or like for example, Black Hole Sun.
Yeah, that
I
would be,
think works really well.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, there's just it's very like Michael Mann, Heat, Collateral type of music. They could do God Over the Water by Moby, or they could do some Radiohead. Whatever they choose to do, I'm gonna be locked in. Matt
Yeah.
Reeves doesn't disappoint me. So the Batman, it was an incredible movie. And what I also hope wasn't disappointing was this episode, because Tucker, it's important for me to celebrate you. Thanks for doing the show with me. Thanks for being friends for 3 years. Oh, Tucker, what just happened?
You live to fight another day, Gabe.
Beautiful. I love the Milwaukee Brewers. God bless.
Was this
Honestly,
good?
just
Was this a good escape for you?
it was because I was gonna be really stressed watching this game, and
Yeah.
like it was just you know baseball is one of those sports where you die by 1,000 paper cuts or
It's
live in
true.
one big moment.
Yes.
But, I watch just about every Brewers game, and so with
Will
every loss it stacks up, and then the season's just done. You spend all season telling yourself, well, once we make it to the playoffs, it's anyone's ball game. That's how baseball works. At
will we get
7 games.
a Gabriel Joseph Bradham appearance at the postseason if they advance?
Absolutely. Yes, 100%.
That's
I
good.
moved back to Milwaukee. There would be no sense in me not going.
I
Just
figured.
like if by the grace of God and the skin of our teeth, if the Milwaukee Brewers win the World Series, put aside some money for Bond, I will be naked on the streets of Milwaukee, probably lighting myself on fire. It's just gonna happen. If your trash can, someone's banging on it, it's not the Houston Astros, it's me. Celebrate. That's all I'm saying. But Tucker, I'm so glad that we're friends. Great to celebrate 3 years with you. I'm glad that we do this show, and I would do it if nobody listened because it's just nice to talk to you. But I'm very glad that we have an audience. Audience, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time on another episode of Serious Cinema from Serious Men.